If you give up your life, if you'll die to yourself for my sake, for the sake of the gospel, you will save it. That kind of daily death creates the space in our lives to experience the power of resurrection. The gospel advances when we live and die like Jesus. Again, I told you, you can feel the tension, right? The gospel advances when we live and die like Jesus. When I was a kid, we didn't have video games. Eventually we got them, but middle school age, early high school, I wasn't playing video games. I wasn't sitting in the comfort of my room in the safety of my cozy little chair with my headphones on, shooting fake guns across the internet at my buddies sitting in their comfy little safe bedrooms as well. I was out in the backyard throwing rocks at my friends while they threw rocks at me. That's how we played war when I was growing up. And then we got into throwing rocks at cars, and that's another illustration for another message. But kids, let me tell you, don't do it. It's highly frowned upon among law enforcement. I'll share how I know some other day. That's not the stoning Stephen is experiencing. Jewish law required that executions happen outside the city limits in order to protect the ceremonial cleanliness of those who were participating in it. And for that reason, Stephen would have been seized by that mob, dragged out of that courtroom, and drugged through the streets while he was being beaten and mocked along the way. Then he would have been pushed or thrown off a ledge or a raised area. Think of being thrown off this stage, except the distance not only being 3 feet, but 8 to 10 feet. And then, again, because of Jewish law, those who brought the accusations against Stephen would have been the ones to cast the first stone, and they weren't little rocks that you would pick up in your gravel driveway. They were 10 to 12 pound boulders like this one. They didn't have a nice church logo on it like this one does that somebody had engraved in that for me. But they would have picked up boulders like this. And from an elevated position, the reason they would throw them off an elevated position is so that their ankles would roll or break or their legs would snap and they couldn't run away from their punishment. And then as they laid there, already in pain, unable to escape, they would start dropping boulders like this on them, tearing their skin, breaking their bones. And if the first few stones didn't strike the fatal blow, then the crowd would just keep going until the person collapsed under the weight of it all and eventually stopped breathing. That's what Stephen is experiencing in the moment. That's what he's going through. That's the pain that he is suffering. And in that moment, Stephen does what most of us would probably do in that moment. He prays. But he doesn't pray what most of us, myself included, would probably pray in that moment. He doesn't pray for an escape. He doesn't pray for his circumstances to change. He doesn't call down fire from heaven on those who are throwing stones at him. Instead, he does just the opposite. He prays for the forgiveness of those responsible for his execution while they are in the process of doing it. Acts chapter 7, verse 59. As they stoned him, Stephen prayed, Lord Jesus, receive my spirit. He fell to his knees and cried out, Lord, don't charge them with this sin. And with that, he died. Those words sound familiar to you? They should, because they're almost the exact words that Jesus spoke from the cross. Jesus said, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. Jesus prayed, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. Stephen's final breath wasn't filled with rage, wasn't filled with anger or fear. He didn't play the victim card and start blaming God for his circumstances. His final breath was filled with surrender. It was filled with grace, mercy, forgiveness. The truth is, Stephen wasn't just dying for Jesus. He was dying like Jesus. And that's the heart of the gospel. Not just to believe in Jesus, but to become like Jesus. This is what the gospel does. It doesn't just rescue us from death. Instead, it reshapes us into the image of the one who conquered death for us. And the truth is, most of us won't die for our faith, at least physically. But every day, as followers of Jesus, we are called to die to ourselves. And that's what truly makes the gospel visible to the world around us, watching, learning, searching. What does that mean, Pastor Jason? It means dying to your pride and choosing humility in a culture obsessed with self. Last week, when I didn't share this in the other services, but this I was just reminded of this. Last week when Amy and I were in Turks and Caicos, if you've never been there, look it up online. It is some of the most beautiful water and sand you have ever seen in your life. There are 3 bays there that we kind of bounced back and forth from throughout our week, and we had them almost to ourselves. And literally, you can walk out in water from me past the back of the room and only get up to your waist, and you can see crystal clear all the way to the bottom. Literally the most beautiful, it's paradise. And you know what I saw? The few people that we saw out there with us, you know what I saw a lot of them doing? Trying to hold the sun, right? Now listen, I took my share of pictures out there too with Amy. But we are obsessed with ourselves in every aspect. Me. I. This means dying to fear so that we can speak truth with courage and compassion, something we don't see a lot of, even among those who call themselves Christians. Oh, we want to declare the truth. We want to put people in their place, but there's no grace. There's no seasoning of mercy or compassion among the truth that we are proclaiming. It means dying to comfort so we can serve others even when it's inconvenient, and we can love others even when it's messy. It means dying to control so that we can surrender our plans and our hopes and our dreams and our desires so that we can say like Jesus, not my will be done, but yours. Jesus said that this kind of dying is required by anyone who wants to live for him. Listen to what he said in Luke chapter 9, verse 23, as he looks out at the crowd that's gathered to hear him teach. If any of you, and this still holds true for us today, these words are as true and accurate as they were when Jesus first spoke them. If any of you wants to be my follower, you must give up your own way. You must die to yourself. You must take up your cross daily, meaning you must embrace any suffering that comes your way and follow me. You got to live like I live. And you got to die like I died. Verse 24, if you try to hang on to your life, Jesus said, you're going to lose it. But if you give up your life, if you'll die to yourself for my sake, for the sake of the gospel, you will save it. That kind of daily death creates the space in our lives to experience the power of resurrection. It's in the way that you forgive someone who doesn't deserve it. It's in the way you stay faithful when no one's watching what you're doing. It's in the way that you serve others, the way you give of your time, talent, and treasure when there's no earthly reward to be received and no one's applauding you for it. The world notices when you live, or I should say when you die this way. The people around you, your kids, your coworkers, your family members, your neighbors, they're watching. They might not say it out loud. They might not ever acknowledge it to your face, but they are watching. Stephen's death wasn't senseless. It was actually a seed. And the first fruit of that seed was standing right there, holding the coats of those who were throwing the stones in full agreement to what was happening. He was a guy by the name of Saul, whose name would later be changed by God to Paul. And though Stephen never got to see the impact of his obedience, never got to see the impact of his courage and faithfulness, Paul would become one of the most influential missionaries and church planters throughout all of history, even though he spent the first part of his life trying to destroy it.